Okay, so you want to achieve those big dreams, right? We all do.
Mm-hmm.
You sent over this goal-setting guide.
Right.
And honestly, at first glance, I was like, another one.
Mm-hmm.
But then I saw some really unique strategies in here,
Yeah.
stuff I hadn't considered before.
Right.
So let's dive in and see what surprising nuggets we can pull out for you.
I think what often gets lost in the typical goal-setting advice
Yeah.
is that it's not just about checking things off a list.
Right.
It's about designing a life you're excited to wake up to.
Yeah.
And this guide, I think, really gets that.
It's not just about hitting some arbitrary target.
Hmm.
It's about what those achievements actually mean for you.
Exactly.
So why don't we start with the classic, why are goals important? Question.
Sure.
But let's go deeper than just the usual motivation and focus spiel.
It's interesting, right? Because we hear all the time that goals give you direction, but I think it's more nuanced than that.
Okay.
Goals help you make choices that are aligned with your values.
Right.
Think about it. If your goal is to write a book,
Okay.
you're probably going to spend less time binge-watching TV.
Mm-hmm.
Not because you're forcing yourself, but because your time suddenly feels more precious.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
It's like goals create a filter for your decisions.
Absolutely.
And that reminds me of a point this guide makes about writing things down.
Hmm.
It's not just about remembering, it's about making a commitment.
There's actually research that suggests when you physically write down your goals,
Okay.
you're engaging more of your brain in the process.
Wow.
It's like you're sending a stronger signal to yourself that this matters.
That makes so much sense. It's
Right.
not just a note, it's a declaration.
Exactly.
And this guide dives into different types of goals, and it gets pretty interesting. I mean, we've all heard about career and financial goals, but it goes way beyond that.
It's easy to get stuck in that mindset of achieving things,
Right.
acquiring things.
Yeah.
But what about goals around experiences?
Learning to play an instrument, traveling to a new country,
Right.
deepening relationships, these are goals too.
I am so glad you brought that up
Yeah.
because honestly, I sometimes get caught up in the achievement trap
Mm-hmm.
and I forget about the other parts of life that truly bring joy.
Yeah.
So how do we actually define these goals effectively? Let's talk about frameworks, starting with SMART goals.
Okay, before we roll our eyes at the SMART acronym, which I know can feel a bit overdone,
Yeah.
I think there's a really valuable point this guide makes that's often overlooked.
Okay.
You know how people get overwhelmed by endless to-do lists?
Hmm.
SMART goals can actually help you avoid that.
Wait, really? Tell me more.
Think about the relevant part of SMART.
Okay.
It forces you to ask, does this task actually contribute to my overall goal?
Mm-hmm.
So instead of getting bogged down in busy work, you're laser focused on what truly moves the needle.
Okay, that's a game changer.
Right.
It's like SMART goals are a productivity hack in disguise.
Exactly. But let's break it down a bit more. What about those I will statements the guide mentions?
I love that. It's such a simple shift in language, but it really changes the energy.
Okay.
Instead of lose 10 pounds, is
Mhm.
I will lose 10 pounds by exercising regularly. It's about owning that goal
Mhm.
and making it an active pursuit.
It's almost like you're speaking it into existence.
Right.
Now, this guide also talks about OKRs, which I usually associate with like big company goals.
Yeah.
But they bring up an interesting point.
Mm-hmm.
OKRs can work for personal projects too.
Absolutely. Think about it. Say you want to write that novel you've always dreamed of.
Okay.
Your objective could be finish the first draft.
Right.
Your key results could be things like write 500 words a day or complete a chapter each week.
Whoa, that just blew my mind a little.
Right.
OKRs for my creative projects, that's never occurred to me. It's like they're taking this corporate framework and making it accessible for everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. Whether it's a massive company goal or a personal dream, the principle is the same.
Yeah.
Break down those big ambitions into manageable, measurable steps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've set our SMART goals,
Right.
maybe even mapped out some ambitious OKRs,
Mhm.
but now we need to actually, do the thing.
Yeah.
This guide talks about breaking down those goals into smaller steps.
Right.
Which seems pretty obvious, but I think there's a nuance here that's often missed.
It's not just about making a giant goal less intimidating.
Okay,
It's about creating momentum.
right.
Each small win,
Yeah,
each step you take, releases a little dopamine hit in your brain,
okay.
which makes you want to keep going.
So it's like building a positive feedback loop.
Exactly. And that's where a good plan comes in.
Okay.
The guide emphasizes that it's not enough to just break things down.
Right.
You need a roadmap.
Yeah.
But I'd add that this roadmap doesn't have to be rigid.
Okay.
It's more like a flexible guide.
I can see that because life rarely goes exactly according to plan, right?
Right. So your plan needs to be adaptable,
Yeah.
but it still needs to exist.
Okay.
And this guide has a great tip about prioritizing tasks based on impact and urgency.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, this is something I still struggle with.
Me too. It's so easy to get caught up in the urgent stuff,
Yeah,
even if it's not actually moving us closer to our big goals.
right.
Any advice on how to break that cycle?
The guide suggests setting aside dedicated time each week
Okay.
to review your goals and plan.
Mm-hmm.
And here's my personal trick. I ask myself,
Okay.
if I could only do 3 things this week to move me closer to my goal, what would they be?
Right.
It forces you to cut through the noise.
Oh, okay, I'm stealing that.
Mm.
But let's be real. Even with a perfect plan, staying motivated can be tough.
Yeah,
This guy throws out a bunch of tips, but the one that always gets me is visualization.
I'm a huge believer in visualization,
Yeah.
but I think people sometimes misunderstand it.
Okay.
It's not just about daydreaming.
Right.
It's about creating a vivid mental picture
Mm.
of yourself achieving that goal.
Mm-hmm.
And this guide adds a cool twist. Engage all your senses.
So it's not just seeing it. It's
Right.
feeling it, smelling it, hearing it.
Exactly. Imagine you've just achieved your goal.
Okay.
What do you see around you? What do you smell? What sounds do you hear?
Right.
The more detail you add,
Yeah.
the more real it feels to your brain.
Wow, that's powerful. I'm definitely trying that.
Yeah.
This guide also talks about accountability partners and rewarding progress, which seem pretty standard,
Mm-hmm.
but I always find those tips helpful.
They are classic for a reason.
Yeah.
There's something about having someone else to cheer you on and hold you accountable
Right.
that makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
And rewards, even small ones,
Mm-hmm.
tap into that part of our brain that loves a good dopamine rush.
It's like gamifying the goal-achieving process. Now, what about obstacles?
Mm.
This guide spends quite a bit of time on overcoming setbacks,
Right.
which I think is really important.
We all hit roadblocks, right?
Yeah.
But the difference between those who succeed and those who don't
Mm-hmm.
is often how they handle those challenges.
Okay.
This guy talks about having a growth mindset,
Right.
which essentially means seeing obstacles as opportunities to learn and get better.
I love that reframing.
Yeah,
It's not a failure, it's data.
exactly.
Right.
And I think there's another layer to this.
Okay.
The guide briefly mentions self-discipline,
Right.
but I think it's worth exploring further.
Okay.
Because when you hit those inevitable obstacles,
Yeah.
self-discipline is what keeps you going.
So we've talked about external obstacles, but what about those inner battles?
Right?
The guide touches on self-discipline,
Yeah.
and I'm wondering if you could expand on that a bit.
It's interesting because a lot of people think self-discipline is about willpower,
Okay.
about forcing yourself to do things you don't want to do.
Right.
But I see it differently.
Okay.
This guide actually hints at this too.
Okay. I'm intrigued.
I think self-discipline is more about aligning your actions with your values.
Hmm.
It's about making choices that support your long-term goals,
Right.
even when those choices aren't easy
Yeah.
or immediately gratifying.
That's a really powerful shift in perspective.
Yeah.
So it's not about deprivation. It's about making conscious choices that are in alignment with what you truly want.
Exactly. And this guide has a brilliant section on building good habits,
Right.
which ties directly into this idea of self-discipline.
Okay.
They dive into the habit loop,
Hmm.
which explains how habits are formed through a cycle of cue, routine, and reward.
I've heard about the habit loop before, but honestly, I've never quite grasped how to use it to my advantage.
It's actually pretty simple.
Yeah.
Imagine this. You crave a cookie after lunch.
Okay.
That's your cue.
Right.
You head to the pantry.
Yeah.
That's your routine.
Mm-hmm.
You enjoy that sweet treat.
Okay.
That's your reward.
Yeah.
See how that cycle reinforces itself.
Okay. Yeah, I totally see that now.
So if you want to build good habits,
Right.
you need to create new loops. Okay. Identify a cue that triggers the desired behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Establish your routine.
Yeah.
And then reward yourself for consistency.
So if I wanted to start meditating every morning,
Right.
I could make my cue my morning cup of coffee.
Exactly.
My routine would be sitting down for 5 minutes of meditation.
Okay.
And my reward could be listening to a piece of music I love afterward.
Perfect. You've got it.
Okay.
And this guide has a great tip. Start small.
Mm,
Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight.
right.
Pick one small habit you want to build and focus on that.
It's like building those small wins we talked about earlier.
Exactly.
Each successful repetition strengthens the habit loop.
Right. And as you build these positive habits, you start creating a more supportive environment for achieving your goals.
Which is a perfect segue into the next section of the guide.
Yeah.
It emphasizes the importance of surrounding yourself with people and things that support your goals.
Mhm.
It's about creating an ecosystem for success.
I love that analogy because it really is like building an ecosystem.
Right.
You need the right nutrients,
Yeah.
the right conditions to thrive.
And one of the key elements of that ecosystem is finding mentors and role models.
Mentors can provide invaluable guidance and support.
Right.
And been there, done that.
Yeah.
And can offer insights you might not find elsewhere.
This guide suggests looking within our networks, joining industry organizations,
Right.
even utilizing online mentorship platforms.
Yeah.
There are so many ways to connect with those who can guide us.
And beyond mentors,
Okay.
this guide talks about the power of supportive communities.
Right.
Surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals who share your goals can provide encouragement and accountability.
It's like having your own personal cheering section.
Mhm.
And let's not forget about the physical space.
Yeah.
Creating an environment that promotes productivity can make a huge difference.
Absolutely. A clean, organized workspace can do wonders for focus and motivation. And don't underestimate the power of visual reminders.
Vision boards, inspiring quotes, pictures of your dream vacation destination, whatever keeps those goals front and center.
Now, while all these strategies are incredibly powerful,
Right.
this guide also highlights some common goal-setting mistakes to avoid.
Because let's be honest, we've all fallen into those traps at some point.
One of the biggest mistakes is setting unrealistic goals.
Yeah.
While ambition is great,
Right.
aiming too high too fast
Mm-hmm.
can lead to burnout and discouragement.
It's about finding that sweet spot,
Right?
pushing yourself outside your comfort zone,
Yeah.
but not so far that you get overwhelmed.
Another common mistake is failing to track progress.
Right.
Without a system for monitoring your wins and setbacks,
Yeah.
it's easy to lose sight of your goals.
It's like trying to navigate without a map.
Exactly.
You might eventually reach your destination,
Yeah.
but it'll be a much more frustrating journey.
And finally, this guide cautions against lacking a clear plan. A goal without a plan is just a wish.
It's like setting out on a road trip without packing your bags or checking the weather.
Right.
You're setting yourself up for unnecessary challenges.
Exactly. Breaking down your goals, identifying resources, and creating a roadmap are essential for success.
So we've covered a lot of ground today.
Right.
We've gone beyond the usual goal-setting platitudes
Mhm.
and really dug into some unique strategies.
But before we wrap up,
Yeah.
I think it's important to remember that achieving goals isn't just about the destination.
Okay.
It's about the journey.
It's about who you become along the way, the skills you develop, the resilience you build.
And it's about embracing the imperfections, the setbacks, the lessons learned along the way.
Because those are the things that shape us,
Right.
that make us stronger,
Exactly.
that make the journey worthwhile.
So as you set out to achieve your dreams,
Yeah.
remember to enjoy the ride,
Okay.
celebrate the small wins, learn from the challenges, and never lose sight of your why.
And don't forget, we're all in this together. Share your goals with us.
Yeah.
Connect with others who are on a similar path.
Right.
And let's inspire each other to reach new heights.
Because when we support and uplift each other,
Yeah.
incredible things can happen.
So go out there, dream big, set those goals, and start creating the life you've always imagined.
Mm-hmm.
Until next time, keep chasing those dreams.
Mm-hmm.